Have you ever felt like your current life is too small for what God placed inside you? Like something deep in your spirit keeps pulling you toward more, not more money, not more status, but more purpose. Most people ignore that feeling. They call it ambition, or they call it restlessness, and they try to silence it. But what if that feeling isn't something to suppress? What if it's actually God speaking? What if the discomfort you keep feeling is not a problem to fix, but a signal to follow? Because throughout Scripture, God has always called ordinary people into extraordinary assignments, and the signs He gives are often quiet, internal, and easy to miss. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you may realize that what you've been feeling isn't confusion. It's a calling. Number one, you feel a deep restlessness that nothing around you can satisfy. This is one of the first signs, and almost everyone misreads it. When God is calling you to something bigger, He often starts by making where you are feel too small. Not because your life is bad, but because He's preparing you to move. Think about Moses. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness. He had a routine, a family, a role. But something stirred in him that his circumstances couldn't quiet. Then came the burning bush. God didn't call Moses when Moses felt ready. He called him in the middle of ordinary life. And notice this, the burning bush didn't make sense. It got Moses' attention precisely because it was unusual. When God plants a calling in your heart, it works the same way. You start noticing things that don't fit your current routine. You feel drawn to people, places, and purposes you can't fully explain yet. That restlessness isn't random. It's intentional. Number two, God starts closing doors you were desperate to keep open. This sign is uncomfortable, but it's powerful. Sometimes God signals a bigger calling, not by opening something new first, but by shutting down what's already there. And when that happens, it can feel like failure. It can feel like loss. But here's what Scripture shows us repeatedly. Closed doors are often divine redirections. Joseph didn't choose the pit. He didn't choose prison, but every closed door moved him closer to the palace God had already prepared for him. Genesis 50:20 says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." What looks like a setback in your story may actually be God clearing the path. When relationships end, when opportunities collapse, when plans fall apart despite your best effort, don't automatically assume you did something wrong. Ask God what He's redirecting you toward, because sometimes the most painful closings are the most purposeful ones. Number three, you keep encountering a specific need that burdens your heart deeply. This is a sign many people overlook entirely. When God is calling you to something bigger, He doesn't always start with a title or a platform. He starts with a burden. A burden is a specific pain in the world that you can't stop thinking about. Orphans without homes, people trapped in addiction, communities without hope, individuals who've never heard the gospel clearly. You may not have resources yet, you may not have a plan, but the burden keeps returning. Nehemiah saw the broken walls of Jerusalem and wept. He wasn't a builder, he was a cupbearer, but the burden he carried was bigger than his current role, and God used that burden to launch one of the most significant rebuilding efforts in Israel's history. Nehemiah 2:12 says, "I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do." Notice that. God put it there. If something keeps breaking your heart, pay attention. That may be God revealing your assignment. Number four, God keeps placing people around you who confirm what you've been privately sensing. This sign matters more than people realize. When God is preparing you for something bigger, He often sends voices of confirmation before He sends full clarity. He places a mentor who speaks into your potential, a stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear, a community that calls out gifts you almost buried. This is not coincidence. This is the way God works. In Acts 9, after Saul encountered Jesus on the road to Damascus, God sent Ananias to him. Ananias confirmed the calling. He laid hands on him, spoke over him, and helped restore his sight. Saul didn't step into his purpose alone, and neither will you. If multiple trusted voices are pointing toward the same thing you've been quietly sensing, that's worth taking seriously. Proverbs 11:14 says there is wisdom in a multitude of counselors. God rarely calls people in complete isolation. He sends confirmation. Now here's something important. These signs don't always appear all at once. Sometimes only one surfaces at first. Sometimes the restlessness comes years before the confirmation, and in between, God is doing something you can't always see. He's building character, He's deepening your faith, He's preparing you for what your calling actually requires. Because a bigger calling demands a stronger foundation. Abraham waited decades for the promise. David was anointed king long before he sat on the throne. The gap between the calling and the fulfillment is not wasted time, it's preparation time. And what God does in you during that season is just as important as what He eventually does through you. So what should you do if you recognize these signs? Start by bringing it honestly before God. Don't try to manufacture the calling or rush the process. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That promise belongs to you, but it unfolds on God's timeline, not yours. Spend time in prayer, spend time in Scripture, surround yourself with people who know God deeply, and stop waiting until you feel fully ready, because that moment rarely comes. God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. Every person He's ever used was unqualified by their own strength and completely qualified by His. Maybe you've been sitting on this feeling for months, even years. Maybe fear has kept you still. Maybe doubt has made you question whether God would really use someone like you. But Scripture answers that question clearly. He used a shepherd to lead a nation. He used a fisherman to build a church. He used a woman at a well to spark a revival in her entire town. God's calling has never depended on your resume. It depends on your willingness. If these signs are showing up in your life, don't dismiss them. Don't delay. Something bigger is waiting, and God has already been preparing you for it longer than you know.